Good morning. Today we are adding and subtracting polynomials, section 1.5. You can go to your textbook and that'll be page 554. An expression which is the sum of terms of the form ax to the power of k, so to any power, where k is non-negative integer, so it can be positive, is a polynomial. Polynomials are usually written in standard form, and this is the standard form that we're looking at. If you guys notice, the largest exponent is written first. We have x to the third, then we have x squared, then just the x. And remember, if there's no exponent on the x, automatically there's a 1 in there, plus 7. The number that does not have an x is written at the very end, and that's called a constant. Remember that a number, for example, the negative 4x, the negative 4 is called a coefficient. And the coefficient that's written first, the one that has the highest exponent, so 2x to the third, the 3 is the biggest exponent of them all, is called a leading coefficient. Whenever we have completed a problem, we want to be able to write the result in standard form. So we have to start with the largest exponent to the lowest, and then the constant or just the number by itself. Let's go through example number 1. Find the sum of the following polynomials, and we need to be able to write down our answer in standard form. A. We are adding. So we just need to be able to combine our like terms. Like terms are the terms that have the same variable. So in this case, they all have an x, but they also have the same exponent. So I'm going to start with the largest one. So we end up with in the expression that is already standard form. So the largest exponent is x squared. I want you guys to circle with your red pen the terms that have x squared. So negative 5x squared plus 3x squared. They have different signs, so we're going to subtract, and we're going to keep the sign of the bigger number, so that's negative, and that's x squared. Notice that the x squared stays the same. Some of you guys are very tempted to add the exponents. The only thing that we are adding are the coefficients. Next will be the 7x, and we are going to underline it just to be able to differentiate. It's very nice to be able to see and go back and check our work. So they have different signs. Remember, there's an invisible 1 in here. So 7x and negative 1, different signs. We are going to subtract and keep the sign of the bigger number. That's f. And the last one, I want you guys to place arrows on the last numbers. So if you guys notice, they have the same sign, negative 3, negative 5. So we're going to add, and we're going to keep the sign of the bigger number. Now our expression or answer is already written in standard form. We have the biggest exponent is x squared, or just square. Then we have an x, and then we have the constant, which is negative 8. Let's go and try the next problem. It's also adding, so we just need to be able to combine like terms. We're going to start with the largest exponent. We have 2x squared, and we have positive x squared. Remember, there's an invisible 1 in here. They have the same sign, they both are positive, so we're going to add. That gives us 3x squared, not x to the fourth, but x squared. Next, we are going to underline the next like terms. They both have the same sign, so they both are negative. That means that we're going to add, and we're going to keep the sign of the bigger number. And on the last one, I need you guys to place an arrow. They have different signs. That's a negative 4 and that's a positive 1. So we're going to subtract, and we're going to keep the sign of the bigger number. The bigger number is 4, so that's negative. So we're going to keep that negative. Go and try letter C and D. Pause it and see what you get, and then we can check your answers. So it's an addition. We're going to combine like terms. I'm going to circle first in red pen my largest exponent, which is x squared. They have different signs, so we're going to subtract, that'll be 6. Keep the sign of the bigger number. Next will be the x's. There's only one, so we're just going to write it down. There's nothing to combine. And on the last one, we're going to place an arrow. They have the same sign. That means that we're going to add. Keep the sign of the bigger number, so it'll be negative. For letter D, it's an addition as well. We're going to start with the largest exponent. I want you guys to circle. Notice that I circled the negative because the negative belongs to the x squared. If you only circle in the x squared, then you are doing it incorrect. Circle the negative because that belongs to the x squared. They have different signs. Remember that there's an invisible one in here. So different signs I'm going to subtract. 2 minus 1 is 1. And keep the x squared. Now, if you don't want to write down the 1 on the front, it's perfectly okay. And I'm going to get rid of it in a few minutes. I'm going to combine the x's. So it'll be 7x plus 3x. They both have the same sign. So I'm going to add. And I'm going to keep the sign of the bigger number. And last will be the numbers. Different signs. So I'm going to subtract. And I'm going to keep the sign of the bigger number. Notice that I can write down just x or 1x. On example number 2, find the difference. So we are looking for the difference, and if you notice there's a minus in between. So the first step is that we're going to change this to an addition by making what's inside the parentheses on the right the opposite. Or some of you guys might want to think of multiplying there's an invisible one and just using the distributive property to multiply by negative. But most of us, what we do is we just write down 3x squared plus 7x minus 8. Notice that these ones are kept the same. This negative belongs to the ones on the right, so that'll make it to a positive. And we're going to change it to the opposite. So that becomes a negative 7x squared, and this one becomes the opposite of negative 7x. Now, it will be a problem like the one we solved before on example number 1. We are going to combine all like terms since we are adding. They have different signs, so we're going to subtract, and we're going to keep the sign of the bigger number, which is negative. They have different signs, so we're going to subtract, and we're going to keep the sign of the bigger number. But 7 minus 7 is 0, so we're going to say that they cancel out. And last, we have a negative 8. So we minus 8. Some of you guys will be tempted to factor something out, but no, this is our simplified answer. Let's go over to letter B. First, we notice that there's a minus in between, so that means that we're going to have to change whatever's on the right-hand side. Remember, this negative belongs to the right-hand side. So that means the first polynomial will be written exactly the same. I'm not going to change anything. The one on the right will be a positive. I'm going to change it to the opposite. So this is a negative, so it's going to become a positive 3x squared. That's a positive, it's going to become a negative 2x. That's a negative, it's going to become a positive 5. Some of you guys are wanting to take a small shortcut and just change it up here. If you change it up here and don't rewrite it, you will not get credit for the homework, for the quiz, or for the test. You need to be able to rewrite it, which only takes a few seconds. I'm going to combine my like terms, so I'm going to circle my x squares. Remember, there's invisible 1 in here, so 1 plus 3x squared, they're both positive. Add, that'll be 4x squared. Next will be the x's, underline it. Different signs, that's a negative 3x and that's a negative 2x. So add, keep the sign of the bigger number. And the last, combine like terms. The positive 7 and the positive 5, same sign, add, keep the sign of the bigger number. Letter C. I'm going to change my subtraction to an addition, and then I'm going to combine like terms. Go ahead and try letter C and D. Go ahead and pause it and see what you get. So for letter C, negative 5x squared minus 3x plus 1. This will become a positive, and whatever's on the right hand side will change to the opposite. So that's a negative will change to a positive. 5x squared. That's a positive will change to a negative. That's a positive will change to a negative. Now we can combine like terms. The 5x squared, they have the same sign. They have different signs, so we're going to subtract, and they cancel each other out because we get 0. Negative 3x squared and negative 1x. Remember, it has an invisible 1. Same sign. I'm going to add. I'm going to keep the sign of the bigger number, which is negative. And last, it will be 1 minus 5. Different signs. I'm going to subtract, and I'm going to keep the sign of the bigger number. Last, letter D. First, I notice that there's a minus in between, so I'll change the negative to a positive. That'll be 2x squared minus 3x plus 7. Notice that the first one doesn't change because that negative belongs to the one on the right. I'm going to change it to a positive. And by changing it to a positive, I have to change what's on the right hand side to the opposite. That's a positive, changes to a negative. That's a positive, changes to a negative. That's a negative, changes to a positive. Now go ahead and combine like terms. I'm going to circle my x squares. They have different signs, so I'm going to subtract. I'm going to keep the sign of the bigger number. They have the same sign. I'm going to add. And remember, there's an invisible 1 in there. So it'll be negative 4x. Last, they have the same sign. I'm going to add. That'll be positive 12. Now let's go look at example number 3 and 4. It says write a polynomial. Remember, polynomial will be just a combination of terms that represents the perimeter of the following rectangle. Now remember, on the last homeworks, we've been doing the area, which is just the base times the height. But whenever we are looking at the perimeter, we need to be able to add all of those terms. This will be 3x minus 1. This is 2x, that means that this is also 2x. We don't need to solve for x. Not until the next chapter is whenever we're going to start solving for x. We just need to be able to add all the terms. So let me go and add the x's. That'll be 3 plus 3 will be 6. So let me go and add those two first. That'll be 6x. Negative 1 and negative 1 will be negative 2. I'm going to add those two, so it'll be plus 4x. I'm going to combine my like terms. Oh, not sure. Place plus is part of it. That'll give me 10x minus 2. Now remember, perimeters, you need to be able to add all the sides, not just the one that's given to you. Write a polynomial that represents the perimeter of the following square. Even though this is just 5x minus 4, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 sides. Different ways of doing it. You can just get this side, and we need to be able to multiply by 4 because we have 4 sides. Or if you want, you can just write down all the sides and add them up just like we did on the previous one. So let me go and add those two. That'll be 5x and 5x. That'll give me 10x. Then I'm going to do negative 2 and negative 2, same sign. I'm going to add negative 4 to the sides. 5x and 5x will be 10x. Negative 2 and negative 2 will be negative 4. That'll give me 20x and then minus it. So I added, and they have the same sign, so I keep the sign of the bigger number. Now some of you guys might want to just, because this is a square, okay, multiply 4 times 5x minus 2, because there's 4 sides, and notice I'll get exactly the same answer. So whichever you prefer to do, you will be correct. So please email me if you have any additional questions, and have a great day. Thank you.